these are. We didn't have anybody come on.
No, I forgot to, we need them for tomorrow.
I was just curious.
Jane?
Aye.
Steve?
I'm Mark.
Zoom.
Yep, magic touch.
Pointed in the right direction. It just looks like it's really
There
far
we go.
away.
There you go.
Now we're zoom right in on Mark.
Yeah.
Right. Marking. Turn it facing the camera, Jason.
You may. That's what I was asking her. See, you're here, but she's got something else.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a record, June. Before Jason.
Yeah, number 4.
Yeah,
Or
but I only
number
have
5.
Steve can retire
I
now.
only have one.
Call the amended budget hearings to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Jill Wendling.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad Thompson.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
Steve Bone.
Yes.
Robin Cosman. Yes. Brad Waldo.
Yes.
All right, this is the amended budget hearing. Jason?
All right. Last month, we presented the tentative amended budget and gave you a memo on that. We did not have any changes to that tentative amended budget that we presented last month. So to kind of summarize that, in Fund 10, the Ed Fund, we made changes based on IDEA grant and the changes the state made last year where EASY used to receive those funds and then just let us know how those are being used. Now we receive those funds and then send those out to EASY, which were billed. So we made those changes. So in the Ed Fund, we're going to change the estimated fund balance on June 30th from $9,335,568 to $9,329,336. That's a decrease of $6,232 in the Ed Fund. In Fund 40, Transportation, we had the sale of buses that we bid out, as well as the purchase/lease of buses. So we needed to put those numbers in there, which changed that estimated fund balance from $2,983,125 to $2,913,751. That's a decrease of $69,374. Fund 50, the Municipal Retirement/Social Security Fund, we have an increase in CPPRT that we needed to add of $4,593. So that was changing the estimated fund balance from $1,302,139 to $1,306,732. And lastly, in the tort fund, we needed to make some changes for adding a second nurse as well as trying to pay our insurance ahead of time, which would change the estimated fund balance from $492,578 to $132,578. That's a decrease of $360,000. So that is what was presented in the tentative amended budget, and that is what we're asking for approval tonight. So, are there any questions I can answer from the board or anybody else?
Okay, hearing none. Motion and a second to adjourn the budget hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brad, second.
Second.
Second by Chad. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Bishop?
Yes.
Steve Bone?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay. Calling to order the regular board meeting. Roll call.
Chad?
Yes.
Bishop?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Okay. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the board tonight?
Obviously. Please take it serious. Take it serious. Don't laugh this time. Don't make a mockery of me. This is serious. Not a joke. It's a drunk Friday night. As you guys see, I'm asking for a 1 minute extension on my time. I think you can give me that.
Well, we generally limit to 5 minutes, so if you want to go ahead and start,
I'll just
we'll
speak
see how
fast,
you
listen
feel.
close, I guess. Listen fast. Don't start me yet, just because I'm sitting down either. I know how you guys are. First off, I want to make everybody very aware that before I'm even done speaking, five people will die from suicide in the 5 minutes that I'm allowed. I've been before you before. There's no secret why I'm here. So I'm going to tell what I think has happened. It's my constitutional right, my First Amendment right, and I plan on using it tonight. Please respectfully listen to me this time and do not laugh when I leave this room. This is not a laughing matter, and it wasn't last time I was here. In 2017, the school went against the superintendent, Mark or Pete, or whatever you want to be called here tonight. And the taxpayer, Superintendent Mark Pete, whatever you want to go by, and the taxpayers about staff getting the pay they deserve. And as far as taxes, he wanted to raise them, and it went before you all several times. This is a fact. I read it in the articles. And in the reports, he does not like opposition. He is not used to it. Mark Brown is a very, very intelligent man. He even done a very impressive case study in college about, wanting access to juvenile criminal records, which definitely seems like an in-character thing to do with his personality style, as I see it. He bounced around and was in Farmington for a while and signed a 3-year contract, and the words they used in the Farmington News report was surprisingly left within 2 months of signing that. I think it would also be newsworthy to note the school received quite a huge fund that was left up to the superintendent to disperse around the same time. Seems out of a character for somebody that wants the public to think their image is flawless, and for somebody who's had so much responsibility in signing a legal contract as well. He's married to a woman who's much older than him, not that that matters, but she worked for the special ed and ISB and licensing board, and ISB as well as Dome did. She was obviously 19 more years educated than him and probably learned a lot from her and probably had access to things maybe he wouldn't normally. He does have DUIs in Peoria. It is public record. Google image search them as well, and it appears and allegedly to be him, his birthday, and his face. It is rumored that he's had a DUI in this area as well. He's even had a blow machine in his vehicle. I don't know. Maybe you guys could verify that before this meeting so we can lay that rumor to rest. Or you can clarify that you've hired an incompetent person shows he's reckless to the public. He gave himself or someone approved of one of the highest paying salaries in the state and region. He does push forth religion, but so did the warden in Shawshank Redemption. There's a lot of IEPs in this area, which there is more funding for than the special education buildings are very ran down. Staff not getting what they should, or most people think they should get paid. No huge celebrations for honor roll students, special education, but in this basement of a church, which you've been repeatedly told to separate. They can be with the regular kids. There's absolutely no reason for them not to be. I've heard more than I like to hear of parents saying they seem to push them to have more behavior problems instead of helping them. They cause constant chaos in homes by their lies. They fight the transition program, drag it out for as long as possible to keep them in special education, to lengthen the time of funding. ACLU wrote a very lengthy email about the discrimination practices, and you still have kept the policy. Nancy is not here tonight, but I'm going to still speak on her behalf, even though she has not asked me to. And I'm going to encourage you to quit being racist and be more diverse, to bring more businesses into this area and see the kids happy, all of them. And see the kids happy and the businesses flourish. The Religious Foundation sent emails telling you to separate your religious push. Look at the reports for the name that turned you in. reported it over and over because he will do what he wants no matter who tells him not to. That's why you keep doing that. Also, Lewis was demoted. I think we all need to start asking questions about his character and why he was demoted and why he's still here. But that's probably for DCFS to handle at this point, which you all are mandated reporters and should have turned his ass in. And there are things that are opinions and there are things that are facts. And in my opinion, this is revenge for going against him. He plans to retire early at 55, travel around on your tax-paying money. He makes more money than the mayor, the chief of police, and the state's attorney. That is not how it works. You should not be making the money you would make if you weren't so lazy and you worked till you were 62, like most people have to. And then some. You do not get double pay while you're sitting in an RV laughing at the expense of taxpayers and children's lives. Literally their lives. Why are you all okay with this? Why are you condoning this behavior? Are you getting kickbacks? I've seen how much money you spent at the conference compared to everybody else who went to. Must have been lots of fun. I've read several articles, and I think you're just as guilty as he is now. If you're not,
Okay,
hold on. If you're not, I ask you to prove it by standing up. If you're against racism, stand up. You guys can't answer questions, stand up. If you're against homophobia, stand up. If you're against discrimination, stand up.
Okay, I think your time is up.
If you're against inequality, stand up.
Thank you.
You make $50,000. I've made zero. I go to Catholic charity to pay my fucking electric bill.
All right,
That's
thank you.
enough, Kizzy.
You need to go to jail. I hope they take you down. I hope the federal government takes you down. And you all are corrupt. Every one of you. My son was dying. You laughed.
I was
Handed out flowers. Oh, there's a better show going on outside.
I wasn't laughing at that, Kizzy. I was laughing at your.
You're all corrupt. Everybody in this room is corrupt. Go to church, God.
Jesus.
Anyone else like to address the board this evening? All right. Oh, Shelley's here.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to hear from Mrs. Batt next.
We're moving her up.
Good evening.
Hey,
I'm here to talk about,
make sure you, make sure we can hear.
Oh, sorry. Okay, is that better? Okay. I'm here to talk about the Consolidated District Plan and to give you a little bit of background on it before you approve it. So ISB requires that every district who takes federal funds have a Consolidated District Plan. Years ago, there were several different plans, and then they decided it was more efficient to have just one plan for the federal funds. So our federal funds include Title I, Title II, IDEA Part B flow through, and IDEA Part B preschool. And so as basically you're just in the plan talking about how you're going to coordinate the funds for your school district. And so in 2019-20, that was the first year that, the year before was the first year that we had the consolidated plan approved for the first time. So we've had 2 more years, including this one, since we've had to engage in the process. So a summary follows. We offer a well-rounded education with courses, activities, and programming with the purpose of providing all students access to enriched curriculum and educational experiences that are aligned to the state standards. We focus on the whole child to support their academic needs. In addition to teacher instruction and guidance, students receive skill and concept practice with interventionists, paraprofessionals, trained volunteers, peer assistants, and computer-assisted programs. We do find that we have some students who need additional support beyond what I've just described here. So because we do focus on the whole child, we don't just worry about the academics, we worry about the social emotional as well. So we look at both data whenever we're trying to determine what to do to assist a student. So we will have different interventionists who will work with them. We track the data to see how the interventions are doing, and then we make additional decisions as needed as time goes by and as we watch that data. So some students may have small group instruction, some may have one-on-one instruction. We have ELL, English Language Learning Support. We have several different services in addition to the gifted and enriched programming. So it spans, all ends of the spectrum. Our staff, to be able to support them, they participate in large group, small group, and personalized learning to support the whole child, teacher leadership, and then gradual release within the context of the varying content areas and service delivery models that we offer. So we use our school improvement days, we use our teacher institute days, we'll use school days and hire subs, although last year that did not happen at all. Under normal circumstances, we would do that. And then we may use their plan time depending on what it might be that they're needing assistance with. And we may use summer depending on what the circumstances are. So only our preschool program is served with IDEA preschool dollars. To give you a little bit of background on that, those dollars, we work with Easy on that. And so we also, in addition to the preschool dollars, we also use local funds to support our preschool program. Although we did not get the grant last year, we continue to work with Easy, that every time there is an opportunity to apply for the Preschool for All grant from the state board, we will continue to apply for that so that we can seek additional funding to have our blended preschool program. Our Title II dollars, to give you a little extra information about that, typically the bulk of those dollars go toward class size reduction at the elementary levels. If we have any additional dollars, we use those for professional development. And for our Title I dollars, out of our 5 buildings, ELC, Southside, and Central are served with our Title I dollars. And all of 5 of our buildings are served with the Part B flow-through funds. Anticipated funding for the upcoming year, of course, some of this could change, but this is just anticipated. Title I, we're anticipated to get $506,000. Title II, we're anticipated to get $91,000. IDEA Part B flow through, we're anticipated to get $695,000. Preschool IDEA, we're expected to get $43,000. And although we do get federal funding, it's important to note that the federal funding does not cover every expense that we have to deliver services to our students. We have to use local dollars and state dollars as well. So do you have any questions on that?
This is an annual report.
It is an annual, yeah.
This is an annual report she comes and gives every year.
Any questions, Michelle? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the FY22 Consolidated District Plan.
Motion.
Second.
Jill makes that motion, Steve seconds, roll call.
Tricia,
Yes.
Steve Bone,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes,
Brad Waldoff,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Shelley.
you.
All right, financial report, Mr. Fox.
Okay, we ended May, started June with net fund balance of $25,551,114.50. The operating funds made up $20,073,141.48. And of the total, HLS funds equal $3,500,514.83. Revenues received in the education fund, locally, we received $446,794.54. From the state, we received $569,388.75. And federally, we received $456,212.66. Inside your report, all expenses over $5,000 are broken out separately. And the recommendations this month are to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $3,371.66, and the payment of bills in the amount of $725,643.96. Are there any questions I can answer?
Okay, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $3,371.66, and the payment of bills in the amount of $725,643.96.
I'll make that motion.
Brad makes that motion. Second? I'll second it. Roll call?
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
June, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Desha.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, the consent agenda. Okay, we have minutes enclosed from May 24th, June 21st. We have a cafeteria report. Jason? Do we do these together?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to make any comments on the cafeteria report? Okay, cafeteria report. Student teachers. What do we have? 2 student teachers, maybe? One student teacher. Okay, at the high school, I believe. All right. Fundraisers enclosed. I keep losing my little fundraiser list. We have, come on.
There's quite a few on there.
Okay, well, mine's not opening, so. All right, fundraisers, Central PTO selling wrapping paper, cooking utensils, home decor, to fund student incentives, classroom projects, library books. Southside PTO selling various food items, frozen pizza, desserts, cookies, etc., to raise funds to support student and staff needs throughout the school year. EHS basketball chair, formal dress sale to raise funds for cheer, choreography, stunt camps, tumbling camps, clinics, etc. Central Student Council selling Smensels, which are scented pencils, to raise funds for Central School PTO. And Effingham High School Pom-Poms selling pizza kits and frozen cookie dough to raise funds for pom-pom uniforms. Those are the fundraisers. We have no field trips. We have the annual library services report. And I did want to take a look at that. I had some concerns about that. I wanted to make sure everybody kind of had taken a minute to look at that if we can. I always find it a little disconcerting to look at the library report and see how small the funds are that we dedicate to that. I'm not sure if you took a look at that or not. And I also know that we have currently in the high school library we're kind of reconfiguring because we've always had a lot of desktop computers in there for student use. And of course, now they each have their own device. So I know that there's a plan to try to kind of redo that so that it's more usable now because before there were just many, many tables that had desktop computers on that. So I'm sure that that's going to be a need also. I'm curious, and this would be a question, each one of these building reports said that the FY 2019 School District Library Program grant for the building was so much money. So is there extra money in the building budget for the library in addition to that, or is that all the library has?
No, there's actually money set aside in each of the building budgets. It's actually allocated to the library, but oversaw by the principal. So
Right, okay.
each library does have a budget of their own.
Do you have any idea what those budget numbers in general would be?
I know the high school is a little over $2,000 in their library budget as well. So,
Okay.
but it's broken into different categories. And then at each end of each year, we allow the principals to go in and with the help of whoever's department it is and change how those categories and the amount of
Right.
money in each one of those.
And I don't know if it still is this way, but I know at one point, some of the electronic subscriptions that they had for research and so on came out of that budget too. So those can be fairly costly. As I looked at this, I just noticed, I mean, when we have a library at Central that has 50,000 checkouts going on, and it appeared that they had maybe $500 available to replace books because the PTO and so on had no fundraisers, so they didn't get their usual couple $1,000s. I just have great concern that we are not putting enough emphasis on a library budget so that we can have excellent libraries in every one of our buildings. ELC doesn't have a library even. I know that Mrs. Fox has kind of started something. We saw that when we were down there before, but that's kind of some wire racks in a room, a closet maybe, I don't remember, but it wasn't much. So I don't know, I would like to have a more detailed report on what's there and maybe what they need. I just don't feel like we have dedicated very much to our library services. We don't employ a qualified librarian full-time in a position, a library position. Mrs. Flack has library accreditation, so we're able to use her on this report so that we get a little bit of state funding in library, but her job is not to be a librarian. So we no longer have a librarian, haven't had for probably the last 8 years or so, 10 years after we had a few retirements. So that's something else I think we should consider. For a district our size and all of the positions and assistant coaches and everything that we hire, I feel certainly we should have a librarian in our district when we have a library in every building. So I don't know if we could have a more detailed report on that, maybe at an upcoming meeting, so we could have, some more information to talk about.
Yeah, I think any of that feedback, obviously looking at the library budget line items for 22 and librarian, if that's something the board wants to look at for the future, we could look into that as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, and going on, then we have the board committee assignments. At our last meeting, we had a discussion about, continuing our board committees, and we made a few alterations. We decided to do away with the finance committee because we usually have such in-depth reports and information from Mr. Fox as a full board, that we felt like the committee was really not necessary. And it's our responsibility as a full board to be fully versed on everything financial. So that's why we did away with that. Not that we didn't think it was important, but we thought it was so important that we should all be dealing with that information. And we also decided to rename the personnel committee and broaden it a little bit so that it moved into human resources as its title, and it would also oversee some extracurricular and athletic groups, as well as safety and some other things that the personnel committee did not do. And initially we had Jane and Chad on that particular committee. Jane has offered to give up her post there, and we're going to put Steve there because somehow in the end, Steve ended up without a committee assignment. So
I don't know if you planned that or what.
we didn't want to leave him out, and Jane had another assignment. So we decided we would put him. So now Steve Bone and Chad Thompson will be on the Human Resources Committee, and then we won't need an alternate then. We had Steve as an alternate. The rest of it all stays the same. There is also an approval to post for public review policy updates and changes. Do I need to say anything about that?
No, just we'll go through those again and double check those against our existing policies. They'll be posted for 30 days. Back in July, we'll bring them up for adoption.
All right. Any other comments or questions on any of the items in the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jill, second.
Second.
Second by Desha. Roll call?
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jill? Yes. Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, we have a couple of correspondence here. The first, dear Mark, Penny, Robin, and the CUSD 40 board, thank you so much for the beautiful plant paver. I appreciate the gifts and recognition very much. It has been my pleasure to work in this amazing district. Love, Kelly Anderson. And the second, Unit 40, thank you for the beautiful gift. Your kindness is appreciated. I am blessed to work in such a great district. Thanks, Amy Minor and family. Okay. All right, Superintendent's report.
Okay, no foundation report to discuss this month. Enrollment, again, just FYI, the last enrollment we had comparative against was against March, which is when we stopped having daily school last year. So it's kind of an odd time in there, but there's ended up with 51 less than this year compared to last year, May to March. I had in here at first, we didn't have a FOIA request, but I'll let you know that we did receive one. The district's working through that. It's a request for all emails to and from the Board of Education from 6/20/20 to 6/21/21. So we're working through our attorneys to, we'll collect, district IT staff is collecting that, and then we'll be working with our attorneys to respond. So that's all I have.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, just popped my head. John Perry High School competed at the state wrestling tournament this past weekend, which was put on outside. It wasn't I don't want to say that. It was sponsored by coaches and
Coaching Association.
thank you. So, but representing EHS well, and then Nate Thompson represented the school in a all-star game, IBCA game, and I think was named MVP. If that was correct for the South. So represented well.
thank you. All right, old business. First, adopt the FY21 amended budget. Any discussion on that? No?
Any questions?
Questions?
We start working, obviously from I think last month we talked about the calendar. We're starting to put together next year's budget. So we're working heavy on that one. So it'll be here before you know it.
All right. Then I need a motion and second to adopt the FY21 amended budget as presented.
I can make that.
Motion by Chad, second.
Second.
Second by Steve. Roll call.
Brad?
Yes.
Jill? Yes. Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes. Motion carries. New business. Dairy and bakery bids.
We opened up dairy and bakery bids on Friday, May 28th. We only had one bidder for each of those, which is not uncommon in the last few years. So Prairie Farms of Albany was the sole bidder for the dairy products. We've been using them for several years, and that's why we only get one bid on that. So our recommendation would be to go with Prairie Farms of Albany. And then we had Aunt Millie's Bakeries, which was the sole bidder for our bakery products, who we've used for the last 3 years. And been very pleased with their products. So our recommendation would be to go with both of those companies for the dairy and the bakery.
How did the prices compare year over year? We're seeing price increases everywhere with.
There's minimal. I mean,
Really?
Really,
Okay.
yes. So we're not seeing large increases from our bakery and dairy. There are other providers we're seeing increases from.
Right.
One thing with our other products, the SEPCO that we belong to, that purchasing co-op really keeps that price down.
Okay.
So that's
Good.
helped us a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Fox? All right, I'll entertain a motion and a second to accept the dairy bid from Prairie Farms Dairy and the bakery bid from Aunt Millie's for the 2021-22 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Brad makes a motion, a second.
Second.
Jill seconds, roll call.
Jill? Yes. Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
All right, we're ready for bus bids, I believe.
Yes. So I put a memo in your packet that showed that we put 7 buses up for bid. 6 of those we received bids on. Hudsonville bid on 4 of them, and St. Elmo bid on 2 of those. The 7th bus that received no bids, we will then trade to Midwest. So our process is always buy 7 new buses or 6 new buses, whatever we decide, put up all the buses that we are pulling out of our rotation for sale, sell whatever we can outright. What we don't sell, then we turn around and trade to Midwest. So we never have leftover buses. We just try to make a little extra money. So our recommendation would be to approve the sale of the 6 buses and the trade of the 7th bus.
What do we get on a trade-in value for that bus to Midwest? Is it anywhere close to what we get?
That bus is a special ed bus with over 80,000 miles on it at this point. So it's
Okay.
going to be like 12,500 for that particular bus.
I think last month, I don't know, maybe it was in our discussions, just for FYI, I think when we ordered or okayed buses, everybody's going to air conditioning, right? And especially for special ed busing, right?
Yes.
If they're not, they won't sell them. They won't buy them, take them back either, will they?
Right. And that was the big thing when we talked about even trading this one in, is it's not equipped with air conditioning. And so for special ed buses now, there's actually legislation out there waiting to be approved that's going to require air conditioning on special ed buses.
Makes sense.
But that's the reason why I don't think anybody would buy that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Fox? All right, then I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve Hudsonville CUSD number 1 and St. Elmo District's bus bids as presented.
Make that motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Motion carries. Maintenance service agreement.
Okay.
Fox?
So I'm probably going to be a little long-winded on this, and I apologize ahead of time. So this is, I put in the memo, it's been about 6 months of Todd Taylor and I really working on it. If you were asking Mr. Doan, he'd probably tell you I've been working on this for about 4 years. When we approved our last contract with Honeywell, we were not overly pleased with the services we were receiving from them at that time, but there was not an option to do anything different. In the past 3 years, we've been really trying to research what else we could do. We've talked to Johnson Controls, we've talked to Siemens, we've talked to Honeywell numerous times about what we were receiving in value for what we were paying in contract. And then we found a company called Intech as well. What Honeywell does is they help us with our building automation. So running of our HVAC systems, keeping track of coolers, fire alarms, things like that through the automation side. They also come in and do preventive maintenance on rooftop units, different devices, mostly rooftop units in our district. They have what they call EBI services, which is computer software that's supposed to analyze what's going on with our rooftop units, and then if it believes something's going to go bad, it sends somebody out to work on it. And then we have 8 additional hours per month where if there's a tech that we need help with something, they would come in and help with that. Like I said, we've not been overly pleased with what we were receiving there. Some of our preventive maintenance wasn't getting done in the time and the manner we liked, things like that. So we really went out and tried to find what other options there were. So we asked both companies for an extended contract pricing proposal. And what we got was from Honeywell, we got a 3-year contract proposal, willing to go up to 5. They would just increase it by 3% each year, which is what they did year 2 and year 3. That would still cover fire alarm testing, mechanical service of HVAC, automation software, EBI services, and then the 8 additional hours. Those cost $149,500 for year 1, and then those 3% increases. Additional projects required to happen is Central School has 80-some controllers in the school for all the different. So each room has what they call a VAV box. That VAV box has a controller that the computer talks to tell it whether to open up to let air in or close air and let air out, not stop the air from going in. Mm-hmm. And so all those controllers are 1996 controllers. They're obsolete, can't find the parts for them anymore. And if you find the parts, you got to buy them immediately because somebody else is going to buy them. So those need to be replaced in the entire building. So the Honeywell cost to do that is $169,340 on top of their normal maintenance. Also, our key card access we use for all of our doors is all now outdated and obsolete. So we're having lots of problem with those, so we have to replace all those. And I think I included all those bids in your packet. So that total price comes out to over $82,753.68. So that was the Honeywell proposal. They also gave other proposals for additional controllers. The thing about Honeywell we have to keep in mind too is when they put in new controllers, they're proprietary. So only Honeywell can work on Honeywell controllers because they're international and everything they do, they own. So that's something else we wanted to keep in mind. From Intech, we received a 5-year contract. Now, the second bullet there, I had no cost increase. I read that in one spot, and another spot it said a 3% increase. I called, verified there is a 3% increase per year. So their increase is the same as the Honeywell increase. So I wanted to point that out, that when I put it in there, I didn't make a mistake on that part. Intech will cover mechanical service, automation software, preventive maintenance, card access controls, generator service, which I'll explain in a minute, coordination with the district asset management, and then quarterly filter changes on all mechanical equipment, and then 16 hours of additional time per month. So to kind of work through that, still a mechanical service of all HVAC equipment. The automation software, same thing we talked about with Honeywell. Preventive maintenance. Now this is additional. They're going to come in and work on a lot more equipment than what we were seeing from Honeywell. And I'll show you, if you have your packet in front of you, if you can get to the Intech proposal. In the back of the Intech proposal, you'll see spreadsheets that look like this in the back of it. Okay, so what we did is we wanted to compare what was in the Honeywell proposal to what was in the Intech proposal. And so you can just look at mine and make it easier. Everything in yellow is additional equipment that'll be serviced by Intech that's not in the Honeywell proposal. So that's the first page. So when we went through and we broke it down, we feel like the amount of service and the amount of effort we're going to get out of the Intech far surpasses what we've been receiving from the Honeywell. The one thing that I put in there as well is the quarterly filter changes. So in the last few years, our maintenance team has maintained all filters in the district twice a year. It's about a $15,000 cost per year. So doing that twice a year. Intech is going to do it 4 times a year, and they're going to take care of that. It takes me 2 guys 4 days to change all the filters. When we did the hours on this, we're going to almost have a full-time Intech technician in district, probably 4 days a week to get the amount of work done that they're going to do for us. The high school, we currently have a contract with a company out of St. Louis to come in and service the generator behind it. We have a very large gas generator that maintains our computer service, our phones, things like that, in the event that we would lose power. And the only person that we have that even tries to mess with it is our mechanic, which he'll tell you he doesn't know anything about generators. So we'll be able to cancel that $2,000 a year contract with that company out of St. Louis and put that into this as well. When I talked about coordinating with the district's asset management software, if you remember, we bought Akita box. Each of their technicians will have a login for Akita box. So every time they come and do preventive maintenance, they will scan the piece of equipment. They will put in there exactly what they did, so we can access that at any point in time, see every piece of preventive maintenance that's done on each device as well. Honeywell was not willing to do that for us. Long story short, I guess, the cost value, it's $238,000 average yearly cost for Honeywell to do it, $209,000 per year yearly cost for Intech to do what they've offered. If you look at the amount of services, the amount of coverage, it makes complete business sense and to go with the Intech proposal. So are there questions or anything that I can answer for any of you when it comes to this?
First question I had was, obviously they do a significant amount more, so it is kind of a no-brainer from that standpoint. Have you talked to anybody that's either went from Honeywell to Intech or a current
We have used
customer
both.
of them?
We
So
actually
we
have
use
used Intech the last year and a half to
Okay.
try to figure out what kind of services they do. Honeywell doesn't service freezers, refrigerators, ice machines. That's something that's actually in this proposal.
Okay.
So we've used Intech for that service as well. When we had the issue with the central rooftop unit that had burned up multiple
Yes.
condensers, we brought in Intech, who found the situation for us. So we've been trying to make sure that this was going to be a fit before we got into this.
Okay.
So there will be a few things we will still have to use Honeywell for, because we will still have a few controllers here and there until we can move into changing those over. We will not be using a controller that's proprietary to Intech. We will be using a controller that can be worked on by anybody. So we're getting rid of the proprietary side of things because we want whatever company we choose to go with as the future comes, we are not tied into one specific thing. So
And Honeywell's able to support those controllers individually?
yeah, they can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they would be willing to or not. With the,
They will, and those controllers are much newer, so there's not much they have to do with that. And, you know, we will not have to do software upgrades for several years. And in that time, you're going to see us come to you with a plan to work into a different controlling system
okay.
district-wide, so.
So Jason, anytime I look at one of these 3 to 5 year type agreements, you know, there are things sometimes that don't go as planned. And so I always try to make sure that there's an exit strategy if we have to go that route. Is there any kind of notice, cure period, that kind of thing, if we had to get out of the 5 year agreement with them? Is that spelled out in there, or?
It is, and off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to tell you what it is. But yeah, there is an exit, but there's a cost to it. Anytime you sign a multi-year cost, I think it's a one year payment.
But if they don't live up to the expectations that are laid out here,
Right.
usually, you know, you have to give them a notice, and then there's like either a 15 or 30-day cure period to.
So what we talked about in that, and Todd Taylor brought that up to him, okay, and his words are not as elegant as mine are going to be, but if you don't do your job, how do we get rid of you? And basically, if they're not doing their job, we document it. They have 90 days to fix the issue to our satisfaction. And if it doesn't get fixed, then we can get out of the contract. If we choose to drop them without having documentation, then there's a
Right, that's a
large
whole
cost to
different deal.
that. But I believe it's a 90-day period where they have to correct the issue to our liking and then keep that service up.
And is that in the contract?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. I know we talked about it, but I will verify that before I.
Says the annual agreement shall continue in effect from year to year unless either party gives written notice to the other intention not to renew 90 days prior to anniversary date.
There you go.
Yeah, but there's still, I would just confirm, like you said, that if
Yeah.
things don't go well, and I would ask them to shorten that to 30 or split the difference at 45 days to cure, because 90 days is a long time to cure,
It is.
especially if we have equipment or
Issues.
things that are down. The only other thing I saw in here is, I know it says response time priority, receive priority for service calls. I would just define the timeline. You know, how is it 24 hours? Is it 12 hours? Because sometimes it can be a little vague like that, and you may want to be more specific on what your expectations are. And it may depend on the equipment too, but.
Sure.
Jason, too, how is your working relationship with Intech compared to Honeywell?
Intech has 2 technicians who live in town. Well, one in Watson and one, I guess, in Hartville here. So we are first priority. They're based out of Peoria, but they've just opened up a shop in Mattoon. And so we had a snowstorm. We had no heat at Central. We went down the road. Actually, the technician couldn't get out of his driveway. So I sent Todd Taylor down with the district truck who plowed his driveway, and he came into Central and fixed it. So, you know, they live here and they've done a great job of working on our equipment up to this point, and I don't see that changing. So I would say, you know, and anything we've asked them to look at or to, you know, if they can't do it, they just say that's not ours. but if they can do it, they jump in and work on it. So one thing, with the Akita box, when I told them, hey, we want you to put what you do in our asset management, they said, but we have our own. We can generate our own reports. I said, that doesn't matter. I want it in ours. So when our guys work on it, your guys work on it, whoever works on it, we see it. And, our asset management comes up every 3 months and says, it's time for preventive maintenance on this machine. So when they come in and do the work on it, then that gets cleared and I get an email saying the preventive maintenance on this machine's been taken care of. So they've been open to that. So.
Very good.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Fox?
Thanks for all the work that went into this.
Sure.
All right, then. I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve a contract with Amended.
Excuse me.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Chad, second. Second by Brad. Roll call.
Chad,
Yes.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, next, we were going to discuss the 21-22 school year.
Before you know it, we will be heading back to school. I don't know how many days. I'm sure somebody's counting. But I wanted to just bring it before the board. We've been saying from the last few months about trying to get back to normal. So I gave you some information in regards to some previous guidance that I think the ISB has not come out yet with Dr. Ayala about remote learning. And so that information, as soon as she'll be authorized and the ISBE board approved the document, but basically it talks about for remote learning, remote instruction must be made available for the students who are not eligible for COVID-19 vaccine and under a quarantine order by the public health department. So it's important to note that both requirements must be met in order for a student to be eligible for remote instruction. So that then leads us to, I want to put that out there, but then that leads us to other parameters to the start of the school year. And kind of shared with you some thoughts along those lines. Before I get into those though, I'll just get this past week, had a conversation, feedback with IDPH and ISBE, our Area 5, which is in our district, and shared thoughts and expectations for the fall. They were doing those from around the state, all 8 areas I believe there are in the state, and then ISBE and IDPH, well, actually ISBE is supposed to come out with some parameters and guidance here in early July. So when is that? We've been asking for this from May, to be honest, because now we're down to 8-10 weeks and we're still waiting. So I do believe, because that was pushed very hard in that meeting, that will be coming out here in the first or second week of July would be my anticipation. But just a couple bullet points, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions or comments. But planning for school to be in session 5 days a week. The school day, the time would go back to the fall 2020 times, roughly 8 to 3 for students. We would not be having early release at this point. We did that mainly for remote learning purposes. No remote learning would be provided except through the ISBE guidance. District would continue with cleaning protocols as we have in the past. Were in effect for the 2021 school year. Following IHSA parameters when it comes to extracurricular. This past year we did self-certification verification forms every 9 weeks. We would not do those in the fall moving forward. Grading, GPA, graduation requirements, back to the district guidelines as we had before. That includes finals. So the EHS final exam protocols would return to pre-pandemic levels. So back in the, so basically we would have finals. I want people to know that up front. And again, this is all for discussion and how we want to move forward. Unit 40 schools practice social distancing as much as possible. I think our schools ought to allow visitors and volunteers and mentors to be in the building when we start 21-22.
I didn't know you said they would or wouldn't.
Would. The quarantining question is probably going to be a parameter issue but the health department is the only entity that actually quarantines students, not the school district. So I'll make sure that's very clear to people. The school district does not quarantine students. The county health department does. So we would have to continue to work with them. But again, seeing what those parameters are from the ISBE. We're looking into some options maybe for avenues to try to limit students missing school. One of the big things is when the student is out for 10 days or 14 days, and then it's multiple times, it's just, as I've said with the health department, we just can't do that anymore. It's detrimental. It hurts kids, and that's not in the business we're in my opinion. So we're looking at options there in regards to what if there are testing, but one option we looked into was a U of I Shield test, but they want to require 60% of your students and staff be tested every week. That's not something that, unless this board wants me to do, I don't think that's something that we're going to spend our day on and pulling kids out of and staff out of class and things like that. But that's something, again, we can discuss if you wish. Unless you tell me, I don't think the district has any plans to seek vaccination information from students and staff. We don't want to be the vaccination police. I don't want to put our staff in that position if at all possible. So just to put that out there. And then the big thing that's on the table for everybody is masks, right? So, at this time, the recommendation and the parameters are that there are masks. However, per CDC, fully vaccinated individuals do not have to wear masks. Now, that's different from ISBE parameters at this point. But hopefully, when we get guidance here in early July and they heed the feedback of most districts, I will tell you the meeting I was on was nearly 100%. Well, nobody shared optional. If people want to wear masks, that would be something that should be open. But there wasn't one district on that call that pushed having masks. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what it was. So, that guidance in July, first part of July, we should be getting in regards to, that's the big thing, the big question. So, those are kind of the major parameters that we're talking and looking at. Obviously, feedback from the board and guidance from the board would be helpful if these aren't in the right direction. And then we'll be looking at, updating the back to school plan. And then obviously we get the feedback from ISBE that would go into that as well. And then we bring that back in, I would think in July board meeting and have a final determination and get set for the 21-22 school year. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or.
I don't think there's probably a whole lot to discuss until we know if they're moving forward with them.
I think there's a lot of people in the community that want to know where we're headed or what our thoughts about this. And so we have put together a press release that we can decide whether we want to release this or not. I think that it kind of expresses where we are. So I'll read it first, and then we can decide if this is where we want to go, which I think probably is. Effingham Unit number 40 looks forward to a more normal school year in 2021-22. The district shared its strong opinions with both IDPH and ISBE staff last week. Unit 40 anticipates receiving updated ISBE COVID guidelines in early July. These guidelines can then be utilized to help shape Unit 40 policies moving forward. At this time, Unit 40 is not prepared to adopt specific COVID policies for the upcoming year. District hopes to see that the new parameters will provide flexibility to school districts with low COVID positive case activity like Unit 40. The district's goal continues to be to provide all of our students the best educational experience possible in a safe environment. Good with that?
And I appreciate Mark's feedback and his participation in that call, as well as the direction that he feels we are leaning, because I support that as well. So
I think we're all hopeful to return as much to the way it was before. The strangeness of the last year, the pandemic. So, but yet, of course, we also have to be mindful that we don't function in a vacuum, and we do have to wait for some guidance from the ISBE. So I think that that's kind of where we are. We're hopeful that we will have the flexibility once we receive their guidance to return as close to normal as we can. So that's where we'll stand. So this is
Just want to add real quick. I know I know the board has, because you forwarded some of those emails to me and calls, and I've received some calls and emails and letters. And I just want to say thank you to receiving that feedback, because I think that's key. And so I just want to say thank you to those that have shared their stance and their thoughts. And, as I've responded to people, it's always about what's in the best interest of our kids. And I think that's what we'll continue to look at. So just want to make sure we put that out there.
I think the board, I don't mean to speak for everyone, but we appreciate the emails and correspondence we receive because it is helpful to get that perspective from the parents and others.
all right. We have some discussion and a little bit of decision-making about our superintendent search. At our last meeting, we decided to employ educational leadership. What's the S? Solutions. I knew it wasn't service. I couldn't remember what it was. Educational Leadership Solutions as our search firm. And we need to talk about a couple of other items here that they need some feedback on. One of them has to do, we talked about using some surveying of subgroups in our community and district in order to get some feedback and help us determine the ideal superintendent candidate for our district. One of the things that we need to talk a little bit about is what subgroups would we like them to survey. The Board of Education, of course, would be one of the subgroups, but their plan is to use the same survey with each subgroup so that they can then tally all of the results and by subgroup see, who has what opinion and so on. So with that in mind, I don't know if anybody wants to make a suggestion as to what some of those subgroups might be, and we can kind of go from there.
Well, I mean, my first inclination is our teachers, our staff members, our parents, perhaps students, but I'm particularly interested in our entire community from the business leader standpoint, possibly our Chamber of Commerce members, and maybe there's a miscellaneous group. If anyone wants to contribute their thoughts, they can pick up a survey off of our website as long as it's a one-time, the person can't take it multiple times.
Sure.
A concerned citizen survey, maybe.
Okay, so some common groups I think we probably could agree on. First of all, of course, the Board of Education. We talked about certified staff. We talked about support staff.
Mm-hmm.
Administrators.
Yes. I would say anyone that's employed by the district.
We talked about parents. we talked about community members, and there, I guess, is where we would need to, I don't know if we need to delineate that or if they have some regular avenues that they use. You mentioned the chamber as an option. When you say our entire community, you're referencing,
Taxpayers.
okay, and I know that you had specifically maybe mentioned
I'm also on I don't know, I think that as a district, we should be interested in our community members that have previously sent students to Unit 40 and have either transferred out to another school district or homeschooled, but maybe gone from the public avenue to the private avenue. Why is that? And does it, is there a common denominator? And maybe as a district, we should take into consideration that group of people.
okay. Anyone else that you'd like to suggest as a subgroup? All right, then I'll share those with the search firm, and they since they do this for a business, they probably have some suggestions about how, especially with the community members, they would approach that. And I'm sure their plan was just to, I think, have some preliminary information from us, and then they will come and speak with us before they move ahead. So they just needed something more to
Right.
go on.
Right.
They
Okay?
probably have experience in
Right.
that area and how to
Right,
divide those groups of people up.
right. And they talked about the type of survey specifically they would use and so on. So I'm sure they'll go into that more.
And if there's anybody based on their experience that we're missing, I think we've covered a lot, but if we happen to miss one that they got good feedback from in the past, we should make sure.
All right, one of the other items that they needed was the date in which we would like to have our new superintendent hired, because that will, of course, shape the timeline that they use. So with that being said, I think that we've talked in the past, and if we want to stick to this or not, I think we've kind of talked about the fall being our ultimate goal, not going much past October. Are we still, that's still the timeline we're on?
I think they defined that as a sweet spot.
Yes.
So,
They did. They did say that there would be some things that they would need to wait until, I believe, school started before they could do, or they would feel comfortable doing. But if our sweet spot is really sometime, maybe no later than October, that we could give them as a guideline. The other thing that we need is some possible dates for them to meet with the Board of Education to share a proposed timeline and to talk to us about desired characteristics for a new superintendent. So I'm not sure how quickly that needs to happen. So we'll maybe give them a couple of options. I'm not sure if they want to talk to us in a preliminary way or if they want to wait a while. So we could maybe give them some time if everybody has their calendar.
Will they be coming on site for that, Rob?
Well, it says to meet, so I'm assuming that means they would come.
I feel like they talk like they would be in person.
Yes, I think so. I think so. So looking at calendars, I think if we could just give them several different options spread apart, then they could decide kind of what works for them. I don't know how quickly they want to do. The beginning of July, I'm not available, but I could certainly phone in. Jill could run a meeting. So if we wanted to pick something, maybe the second week of July, if they want something that fast, is there any time in there that works?
As in the 12th,
The week of the 12th,
those days are all good for me, I believe.
Me as well.
pardon me,
They're good.
all good? Anybody have a date, Dasha?
Those are, that's.
Yeah, I mean, is one day of the week better than another? or any time that week that they would want to schedule.
Anytime.
This is probably an evening thing?
We
Yeah,
have the
negotiations, the 12.
Right, but that's done at 5, so
Right.
it started after 5.
Okay, so probably the 12th wouldn't be ideal, but
Yeah.
you could do
We could
it.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll already be here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
anytime the week of the 12th in the evening, we
Yes.
would be talking a special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and then why don't we jump down in another couple of weeks in case, I don't know, as I said, how fast they're gonna want to be here. So maybe looking the week of the 26th.
I'll be gone that week.
I'll be gone.
So that week is out, July 20, the week of July 26th, that's several people gone. Okay, how about the week of July 19th?
I'm gone Tuesday through Friday that week.
Okay. Anybody else gone on the weekend of the 26th besides 2? Okay, how about the week of August 2nd? And I'm going to stop after that. That will give them several weeks to choose from.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Everybody's good then?
Good, yeah.
I'm gone the 5th and 6th.
Okay, so the beginning of that week.
Beginning
The beginning of that week is fine.
Okay, that gives me some dates to give to them, and they can kind of sort through and let you know what happens there. Then the other thing that I just wanted to confirm was some of the different features of the search that we discussed at our last meeting to be sure we were still in agreement. And we had a general fee there of $8,600, and then expenses of $1,000. I think the advertising, we decided the national advertising campaign we would not follow. We would just use the Illinois Association of Superintendents Association and their other local. We also, I believe, decided that we would conduct criminal background checks with local firms, and we would not use their service. We decided that we were interested in them doing a comprehensive salary analysis, I believe. And that was $1,000. So based on that, unless I have missed out on something, that would take us to $10,600 for the search, based on those figures.
Yes.
All right, I believe that was all that I had on my list of information that they needed for now, so we'll go back. On my right page.
I think it's important also to note on this search that because there are so many groups that are surveyed and our decision will be heavily based upon data, I think that it's important for the public to know that.
It's important for people to complete these surveys so that we do have a lot of input to create that data as they collect information, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right then, so we need a motion and a second to contract with Educational Leadership.
Solutions.
I have a mental block against that. Solutions for additional services associated with the superintendent search, and those would be the comparative salary analysis, and what was the other one?
There was a general fee and expenses.
Oh, and right, and that was the only one of the extra services that we were contracting was the comparative salary analysis.
Yes.
All right, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Besha, second. Second from Steve. Roll call.
Besha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, I will entertain a motion and a second to enter into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, and collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. I will need a motion and a second to enter closed session.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Jill, second by Chad. Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Desha.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, we'll stretch our legs for a second before we start closed session.
Are we staying?